Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AlgoDynamix Podcast Series. These are monthly events, either live or replay. So make sure you are signed up on the mailing list and sign up on the events. These events are live and they are interactive, so we can have a good, detailed conversation with Dylan starting very soon. And the second half of the show is very much your show, so you can sort of start typing your questions. If you've got any comments, if you've got any feedback, so we'll give it away, and then just we'll switch the microphone, so to speak, halfway through, actually, and then make sure, because the audience questions, the audience participation is probably equally exciting. So there we go. So right, so thank you. Quick audio check. So Dylan, is this working? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you nice and clearly, Jeremy.
Likewise, Dylan. I think you're all good, actually. And then Tarun, is that working on your end? Just doing a final check there.
I can hear you, Jeremy, as well.
Wow.
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay. And everybody's there. So it is a podcast series. It will be available on YouTube afterwards, and you can also replay it via Webinar Jam. So Dylan, thank you. Thank you. And I think it's been pre-conversations we've had already, very, very insightful. So I'm going to slightly throw you in the deep end, if I may. And obviously, this is definitely a conversation both ways. I mean, this AI is taking off like wildfire. I don't think you can do anything these days without sort of, having AI this, AI that. At the same time, buzzwords. I think there's Agentic, there's Agent, there's Symbolic. There's quite a few. Any sort of immediate thoughts, Dylan? High level, starting off the conversations about where what do you think about the latest trends and the buzzwords, and where do you think this is going? So,
well, thank you for having me. For one, this is going to be a good episode. But I think it's quite interesting to hear the word intelligence kind of rammed into computation, because I think it insinuates some form of like consciousness, the word intelligence, right? Whereas I don't know if we can define really what that is right now. So I think that these terms are, in my opinion, buzzwords to help giant marketing campaigns, essentially. But it's undeniable how powerful these systems are and how much they're changing. And like, just as we don't have definitions for consciousness, we're probably not going to be able to define when these things do get to the point of real sentience, or if they even could be right now.
Yes, it's probably borderline philosophical, since we haven't properly defined the human characteristics. So will we ever know when we get there? I think that's. I mean, is that sort of what you're saying, Dylan? Without wanting to put words in your mouth?
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of listening to what Geoffrey Hinton or Jan LeCun have been saying, which are quite opposing arguments, it seems that Geoffrey Hinton sort of proposes that it's odd to say that these things aren't sentient when we don't have the definition for what sentience is. But then Jan LeCun believes that sentience exists in a more abstract sort of format, and LLMs, which are showing like the highest level of intelligence, are not processing in the same abstract ways our brains would. For example, yes. If you imagine in your mind a cube spinning around, there are no words there, but it's kind of confusing, because LLMs actually, they are able to predict like the direction of a cube if they were to imagine it spinning. So it's hard. And where I'm sort of at right now with it is language like a manifestation of human intelligence? So regardless of if these machines are sentient and smart in their infrastructure, they may be smart by forfeit because they are emulating a manifestation of human intelligence, if you understand.
Yes. Okay. There's a lot to unwrap there, actually, Dylan, but I think we're already sort of agreeing on the same page. And I guess, do you want to try and give a vague definitions of sentient human-like? Dylan, if you've had to sort, put you on the spot, by the way. These are tough questions, and I know this is tough. Right? The biggest question in the universe, Dylan, and we've just given it to you. So how would you if you had to try and architect sentient in a sort of AI dictionary space, actually, how would you think about describing something that is sentient? Yes.
I've always been quite a fan of mysticism as it goes. I've grown up listening to a lot of Alan Watts and this kind of stuff. And I've somewhat, as I've got older, quite enjoyed listening to Roger Penrose talk about sentience and consciousness as well. And I think that human sentience is like a relic of perception. It exists in the current moment. This is very difficult to structure in a way that
I am putting you on the spot, actually, Dylan. I think it's a moment, but just unpacking some of your previous comments, really good, actually. I think your cube analogy. I'm going to stick with your cube analogy because I like it, actually. Having a physical. By the way, I'm from a physics background. That's why I like the simple things. Having your cube spinning, that is a cube spinning. Getting your LLM to sort of come up with the next likely position, that's not a cube spinning. No. I think it's just, I think we agree on that one too, right, Dylan? It's just a manifestation of the cube spinning. It's not the actual cube spinning. Is that a fair statement, Dylan? Am I sort of summarizing your thoughts correctly? Yeah. Okay.
100%. I think what's quite interesting that I've been thinking about over the past few days to do with that is if we could look at the way that these LLMs are putting together our words and the way that we reason and think about things, maybe we could reverse engineer some artifacts of true intelligence and consciousness in humans, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But that would be as hard as trying to solve chaos theory, wouldn't it, really? Because there's so many moving parts that come together in the end as something that looks like a reasoned system, but actually breaking that back down and going to the core beginning of it, these models have have about 1 trillion starting points. So you have to kind of figure out the pathways they are all taking.
Nice one. So one more on this opening, which is a very philosophical, tough topic. Do you think, and by the way, Geoffrey Hinton, he got the Cambridge graduate, he got the recent Nobel Prize there for his work on AI, 2024. Do you think we're barking up the wrong tree, so to speak, Dylan, in trying to sort of enforce sentiency and trying to enforce our human values on AI? Is any thoughts on that one? And then we'll move on, I promise. And then this is the last one of this.
This is good stuff. I think what we're seeing is like a Copernicus heliocentric sort of situation with artificial intelligence, where humans think we're at the center of it all. So we've named these systems artificial intelligence, and we're trying to compare them to us and put us at the center of it, when actually I think what might be happening is that the tree of intelligence as a whole might be growing a new branch, and that actually we're increasing the ecology of minds. And it will soon come to dawn on us that even though these systems can replicate us, they are vastly different, and their intelligence is of a different kind.
Wow. Okay. Nice. Well, I mean, that is I think there's a fancy term for that, Dylan. I don't remember, but us humans tend to have a very human centricity. Sorry, pardon the pun. Everything's being perceived through our own lenses, because that's what we are, right? We are humans with our brains and perceptions there. So.
Yes, there's a German word for this one.
Yes. Ironically, I'm actually traveling on the road now, but yes, if it comes back, we can type it on that one. So, wow. Okay, Dylan, profound. Okay, this is already a deep podcast. So Dylan, maybe just bring it, dare I say, down to earth. Sorry, pardon the puns there. I think we can go on that one. So, bringing it back, and by the way, I'm not disagreeing for a moment, actually, but it's a human characteristic that we like recognizing faces, we like recognizing things, we want everything to be human livable, even though my view is it's not. it's a, how do I put this nicely without sounding a bit offensive? The LLMs, they are, I'm going to say statistical parrots, which is a bit offensive, Dylan. So maybe you can smooth it out. But I think that's what they are. They are lookups, essentially. I mean, very good ones, by the way, very clever, very thoughtful lookups. But that's what they are, right? So, but yeah,
stochastic parrots, I believe is the word on the street.
Is that the correct term without sounding okay? Stochastic parrots.
Yeah, there's a large argument for that.
Okay, well, good. Thank you, Abby. So good. Well, Dylan, what an opening line. So listen, on that note, and we vaguely sticking to the topics then. So obviously your background, trading, finance, AI, so we'll cover that in a second. But I mean, a bit more on sort of the macroeconomic situation, because AI, I like to compare it to the original internet, year 2000. Would you agree? Would you disagree? What sort of paradigm shift would you currently describe the AI wave as?
It's quite interesting because I do think about the dot-com bubble, and yes. I wonder what's happening right now. And I think that it's quite dependent on if we go into another AI winter. If it turns out that what we've built right now pretty much stops at the level of creating LLM wrappers and, making things a bit more automated, then we might have in my opinion, a culling of all of these companies that are starting now, and we'll be left with a few giant companies like we did with Meta, Facebook, and Google, this kind of stuff. So I think it really depends, because if the technological advancements keep going to a point that we can't even predict because of levels of intelligence that come around that are higher than we can perceive, then I think that there will be a change of world order, quite obviously. But I think until there becomes an infinite ability to access these tools, we are kind of slowly walking towards another AI winter. But the development happens so fast that you never know. This morning I was watching a podcast on MemOS, where they're essentially creating active and intelligent memory for LLMs and this kind of stuff. So they have the ability to not just be pre-trained, but also train and continue learning and growing. And this memory has access from other models, which could create a new paradigm in the way that LLMs work. And they're already very smart, but who knows what that will bring, and who knows what's going to happen in 5 months' time. So I think either we'll come to the top of the bubble and kind of look over the edge, oh, we're here, or it will continue going at a rate that has been what it's been recently, where we can hardly keep up.
Is it keeping up? And once again, I'm sort of quite agreeing on that one. It's sometimes a bit tiresome to look at these, what you describe them quite rightly as LLM wrappers, where it's just another front-end use case, and it's using one of the big three or the big five, or one of the open source models, actually. So I think that feels a bit saturated. I agree with that one. But I guess, I mean, you have to be careful with past patterns, but logical evolution would probably suggest you're going to end up with a few players, right? As you're saying, back in the internet days, lots and lots of different players all over the place, and then there was consolidation, right? And we got the GAFAs now. So that's good comparison. So wow, okay, that's good. But yes, also, it is moving. Yes, go ahead, please.
On the venture capital side of stuff, I think that can kind of create the perception that there's a lot more going on than there actually is. I think as a venture capital firm, you'll want to diversify your investments. So right now, as it stands, with all of these new things coming out, it looks like there's a lot of things getting funding, a lot of things getting money. But as someone who works in AI myself, there's only a few different things that I'm actually using. And all of these other wrappers of sorts are already sort of becoming irrelevant. And that's just the venture capital hedging their bets.
But I mean, that's a different, that's the way they operate, right? They want to hedge their bet. They're definitely not expecting everything to work out, right? It's the tail risk return, isn't it? 1 or 2 bets out of 5 or 10 are going to sort of deliver the returns there. So, but yes, I think we're probably not going to sort of go into the VC venture capital space because that's a whole different area. But obviously, there's just like the original .com, which I do like your analogy. There's money to be made here, obviously, isn't there? So, well, I mean, within reason, I guess, right? I think you need to know where to place your bets then. So, but yeah, good. I think that's on that one. So, I guess just vaguely sticking to the topics then, Dylan. I think the third one, just with our thing actually. So, you're probably a bit more about yourself, Dylan, because you've got a very good, strong entrepreneurial background. You've been trading for a very long time. Is that correct, Dylan? Just give a bit more context there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, going back to the mystic side of myself when I was younger, I was a bit of a hippie, and I had a bit of a skeptical worldview on the system and this kind of stuff. And that's where I found cryptocurrency. I didn't find cryptocurrency because I wanted to learn how to invest. I found Bitcoin because of the original cypherpunk sort of philosophies, which were about building different systems that were in contrary to the way that the world works now. And I fell in love with it. I discovered that this could potentially be something big, and decentralization was actually freedom for the people. And that's when I was about 17, 18 years old. So
wow.
I remember asking my mother and brother to lend me some money so I could buy Bitcoin on FX Pro, and I was trading that for a while back when it was
how long was this ago? Give us a bit of context then. So that was 5-10. When was this roughly? Yes.
So this was probably around about 2019, 2018.
2019. Yeah, impressive. Okay.
Yeah. So
contrarian.
Yeah, around this.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And around this time in 2018, 2019, I ended up actually moving to Cambridge using this money I had made, and I got a job in a lab. And from that point, when I first got my apprenticeship, I was investing in the actual technology developing on blockchain. I wasn't investing in the hype. I had a specific criteria, which was if I truly believed that this was going to be part of this new world order, I would invest in that. And when I got to the end of my apprenticeship, I had built up a portfolio that was enough for me to sort of not work for a bit and explore this area more. And after a few years of doing that, I realized that I really wanted to have a high level of education in computer sciences, and also I was still adventuring the mystic side of stuff. So I looked at doing artificial intelligence, I looked at doing philosophy, and then I sort of settled down into artificial intelligence because it was the best of the both worlds. I got my hands on as much data as possible. I could build systems to trade, and I could experience computer science at an academic level. And that's where I'm at now. I'm trying to put all of my main focuses into one.
Amazing, actually. So this is practitioners, contrarian. I love that, by the way, Dylan. That's where the real, that's where the real innovation happens, right? At the edges. I think it's what's this cheesy quote about, you don't wait for the wave, you create your own wave. Dylan, sorry, I just had to get this out of the way, actually. So, okay, good. And then here you are then, I guess. I mean, it's probably an official announcement soon, but you've been working quite actively now. So you've got quite a few crypto trading strategies going, Dylan. Is that correct? Because it's been dramatic in the past few months, hasn't it? So just take us through where you are. Yeah.
So if you want to talk about how many different strategies I have, it's probably somewhere in the 300,000 range.
Wow. Okay.
From the AlgoDynamix engine specifically, I've managed to build first and foremostly a strategy optimization tool, which when you get the historical real-time data from AlgoDynamix's engine that you guys have actually been creating for the past few years, you can optimize what's the best sort of strategy structure. So this is simple, like where you should put your stop loss, the amount of leverage that you're entering with. And this optimization engine, what it can do is it can run through basically every combination of all these different things with trailing stop loss, leverage. And depending on the steps you have, so say you have a 0.5 step on a 20% trailing stop loss, that's 40 different types of strategy. And then if you mix it with the stop loss and have a 20% with a 0.5 step, now you have like 20 times 20. And then if you do the leverages from like 1 to 5 with a 0.5 step again, you're now timesing all of that by 5. So you're walking away with hundreds of different combinations just on that front. And this engine will run all of the different strategies on the real data that's actually been posted, and it will tell you this is what the best returns are for each strategy, this is the best Sharpe ratio, and all of these different metrics. And once I sort of built that out and I went through and I found the highest performing with the lowest drawdowns, the highest Sharpe, that kind of stuff, I then went and built out a portfolio structuring optimization engine. So what this one does is, and I got a lot of the influence from this from the book Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas.
Brilliant, yes.
And it's all to do with risk management and how to like protect your capital. And in the portfolio optimization engine, essentially it has different scale up and scale down metrics. It has take off the table metrics, so money to put into profit. It has like a top up percentage. So say you've gone through like a total bad period, you've had stop loss after stop loss hit, it has a top up criteria. And when you put all of these together and you do the step ups of like 10% and you do from 0 to 100% on the scale down, scale up, you're looking at, for each strategy, 29,000 different simulations that can run.
Wow.
So in building this, I have run hundreds of thousands of different simulations, and I've come down to a few strategies that are the best, which I call Ignis, Terra, and Ether. Wow. So Ignis is, Latin for fire.
Yes.
This is the most high risk, aggressive strategy. It has the ability to risk manage very well. It's very reactive to the markets, and using the real time data from our AlgoDynamix engine, if you had actually done this strategy starting in 2019 till now, you would have had a 1,152 times return. So that's like 111,000% you would have done. And this isn't even the highest percent return strategy.
It's probably time for a quick disclaimer, actually, to the audience member, that we're definitely not soliciting, and this is definitely not available, especially not to the UK audiences. But you've done some amazing work there, haven't you, Dylan, in terms of optimizing?
Definitely.
So it's trading and portfolio. I guess it is multiple components there, and stepping through all the combinations there. So that's
definitely.
That one. Impressive, Dylan. As always, I know you're very experienced, so probably not applicable, but I think there's always that slight danger of slightly overfitting, but I'm sure you've taken account of that, right? So that's all.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. I think in the engine that I've built, we also have a walk forward simulator. So this sort of can simulate like any potential future. It randomly generates different regime change sort of situations, market activity, and you can run these strategies that you've simulated through in the walk forward simulator, and you'll be able to see if it's robust enough to like continue working no matter what happens. But
that's an important one, actually, because these markets can be very I think regime switching, right? I think we've all been there, Dylan. I think especially events are going on these days, but truly impressive. And I think this is probably sort of shameful pitch, not a shameful pitch, but I think you'll be releasing your first research note pretty soon, right, Dylan? Sort of explaining some of these concepts. Is it? I think it's at the printer, so to speak, right, Dylan? Is that correct? Where are you roughly on that one?
Most definitely. I think it's probably going to be done before the end of this week. I've collating data from hundreds of thousands of simulations took a lot longer than I thought, but I've sort of settled down And now I'm just building graphs and charts, and I'm trying to make it a bit more prettier, but the context is there. And it will talk about all of these things, the mechanisms for the simulations. It will talk about the different strategy selections. It will talk about the walk forwards, the robustness during regime changes, all of these different things.
Wow. Okay, good. Well, we're looking forward to that one then, Dylan. I think you're building up the excitement, aren't you? I think you're getting the crowds excited here with your soon-to-be research note then. So I think that is good to hear, actually. So thank you for that, Dylan. So good. And I think it's aptly named. It's called the Trinity Portfolios. Is that correct, Dylan? I think you had a very good branding there. So very, very Cambridge topical. Well done. So I think we're looking forward to that one. So good. Actually, I think it's so interesting, actually, Dylan. I think you're taking a sort of contrarian view already 5 years ago, and putting your money where your mouth is definitely, and sort of changing, actually, really sort of moving away from some of these. Because I mean, tiny bit of history. I mean, it's your show, but from our side, from AlgoDynamix, we were doing crypto for a long time, but we did not want to say anything. We had big banking customers, we had quite a few, larger hedge funds, and we just did not want to admit we're doing crypto because of perception. Whereas I think in your case, Dylan, you just went full in. By the way, well done. So I think
I think even on even with my social groups, sometimes it was a bit hard to mention that I was messing around with crypto, because you come across as someone who doesn't understand like finance, or a bit desperate or something like that. But like I fell in love with the philosophy of decentralization and technological development. So that's where I'm at with it. I think as Rebecca Diaz said on one of your podcasts recently as well, it's only like 0.3% of the world has adopted it. And my generation are due to inherit a couple £100 trillion in the next 50 years. And if this is the way that I'm thinking, and when I look at my academic peers, that's how they're thinking as well, I definitely believe that we'll grow past 0.3%. And being on that like turning edge of AI and blockchain right now, it feels like it would be a bad opportunity to miss for me.
Yeah, no, I absolutely could not agree more, actually. I think we're all converts here, so to speak, right? But yeah, I agree. I mean, Rebecca made the point on a previous podcast, very strong emotional. It feels sometimes a bit like sort of resistance, actually. And I don't know, my theories, and I'll briefly say, and then Dylan, let me know. My theory is that, in traditional finance, people have built their careers and their reputations on traditional finance. Here comes the new kid on the block, literally disrupting their livelihoods, and I think that's my views. Is that what you've seen happening, Dylan, or is it a different approach? How do you explain some of this?
Yeah, I think I'd totally believe that as well. I think people want to protect their eggs, and it also, because of sort of the technological side of it, even though when you get into it and you start understanding the academia behind it, it isn't that difficult to get. I think taking that leap is a lot for people when they're very comfortable with what they're doing already. So it's not going to be until people are somewhat almost forced to take a real look that things will change. And I think that's actually happening right now. There's a lot of people in my generation that have become extremely successful, and it's hard to come across someone who works in software development that doesn't want to be a full stack blockchain engineer, because they get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. So, the tides are slowly turning, but yeah, like you say, people want to keep their fiat and gold sort of standards.
Interesting times, actually. Yeah, no, fascinating. I think it's but that's the world in a nutshell, isn't it? It's disruption, it's change. It's new technologies coming on board, and dare I say, maybe some analogy with the 1920s, when Henry Ford introduced his Ford T model. I mean, I'm sure the horse and the baggies and everybody else were not feeling very comfortable, were they? So, but I bet. That's on that.
And I bet it happened as well when dollar bills first came out, and people were like, "Why would I give my gold to the bank to take a bunch of pieces of paper?" Yeah, that makes no sense. And now it's like everyone's livelihood. Everyone wants to earn loads of money to buy like Ferraris and stuff, or whatever.
It's call it, I don't know, technology evolution, abstraction, or whatever you want to call it. So, but yeah, fascinating. Good. Actually, we're half past. Actually, God, Dylan, this has been good. Actually, I don't know if you can. I guess it's recorded, so you've got some of your sound bites, Dylan. So I suggest, amazing insights here. Thank you, Dylan, and from the ground up, so to speak, right? Been at it since 2018, 2019. So the real McCoy. So thank you for that, Dylan. So hopefully Tarun is back. Actually, we've had a few technical things. Tarun, is this working? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Actually, okay. So at this point, we'll take a little commercial break, and then we're going to open things up a bit. So Tarun, we've heard lovely stories from Dylan, but obviously Dylan's not the only one. So what's the bigger picture here, Tarun? You just give us a insight of what's happening at AlgoDynamix and other stuff we're doing. So
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, a lot happening on our side since our last podcast. Our partners in Hong Kong, Jacobian Capital. Jacobian is a startup quantitative trading firm run by two very talented quants. They will be launching their first hedge fund with us next in September. It will be a long-short crypto fund. We also have our crypto basket that's still running with Solidai in the UK, one of the oldest crypto exchanges. And then in California, in Silicon Valley, we have an equities fund with R42. It's called the AI Equities Fund, and basically it seeks to outperform the S&P 500 using our analytics. And then we have another crypto hedge fund that will be launching in Texas with Gorham AI, a startup AI company. And that should be launched, I think, Q4 of this year. For those of you who are just sort of tuning in for the first time, we're a UK-based data analytics firm. We provide price forecasting for the financial markets. We cover the major asset classes, crypto, equities, and commodities. We also cover the major global indices on the equity side and most of the US large cap liquid equity names as well. We have a software. If you wanted to try out our software, I've talked about this on previous podcasts. We still offer our 3-month trial package. The total cost is $3,500 US. It entitles you to receive analytics for 10 cryptocurrencies if you're trading crypto, 20 stock symbols if you're trading equities. And we also offer some additional services such as backtesting, historical data, sample portfolio construction support, and we offer some trading ideas as well. And then if you wanted to start a hedge fund with us, we co-launch new hedge funds through our fund partnership business. And basically the way that works is we would build you a ready-made investment portfolio. It could be an equities portfolio, a crypto portfolio, commodities portfolio. Some people want a hybrid portfolio combining 2 different asset classes. And you can take that portfolio, market it to your investors, charge them fees, and then we split those fees with you through a revenue share model. So if you want some more information, about our existing funds, our technology, our company, you can drop Jeremy or myself an email, jeremy@algodynamix.com, or you can reach me at tarun@algodynamix.com. Thanks, Jeremy.
Brilliant, actually. So just to reiterate, there's crypto. We're all big fans of that, but there's also equities, US equities, indices, global commodities too, actually. So we've got quite a range coverage of AlgoDynamix price forecasting engine. So that's on that one. So thank you, Tarun. And as Tarun was saying, it's global. We're seeing traction across regions and geographies and different portfolios and construction techniques. And Dylan's one example. Now, I have to say, Dylan, since you're on the call, I think what you're doing now. You're definitely pushing all possible boundaries here, actually. So well done, Dylan. I think you're back again. Okay, you're definitely sort of stretching things. I guess with your sort of ingenuity in your background, it's been sort of very, very revealing, actually, of what's possible. So I'm really pleased to have you on board. So thank you for that, Dylan. And then I think takeaway, Dylan. So is go to the website. It's go to qstrats. .co.uk and then sign up to get the research note. Dylan, is that the next? Is that the takeaway?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say if you're interested,
there we go.
In what I've mentioned, and you actually want to see what's happening behind the scenes, and look at the quantitative development environment that I'm creating called the QStrat Sandbox, then definitely sign up because you'll learn about it in the research notes.
Yeah, good. Okay, let's turn that. So it's in the chat box, but if not, if you just listening, so it's qstrat.co.uk, qsstrat.co.uk. So looking forward to that. So good. Well, now's the second part. So I think the audience have been a bit quiet, Dylan. I think you might have shocked him into a bit more sort of. So that's how that
Got
was.
them thinking too much now.
I think so. The philosophy and it's like, wow, okay. I think you definitely got us going actually. So I know we have I'm going to pick on a few people actually. So I might have to pick on there's Professor Peter White. So Peter, I don't know you want to share your thoughts or type something, or you can unmute yourself. Frank, quite a few professors actually. Another one, Frank Sortino, he's working with our equity fund. Linda, by the way, do you want to try and unmute yourself because you've probably got the most creative mind out there actually, and there's quite a few other people there. So Monica too. Okay, Jen. Okay, yes, we have some very interesting people on the call actually. So if you want to let us know actually, if not, Dylan, listen, I think we've sort of covered past, present, future type thing. I think the great work you're doing, maybe a bit more sort of regionality, I guess, because you're in Cambridge now. Well done. Any sort of definitely philosophical, actually. We've discussed the crypto and the hedge funds and everything else. Anything else going on in Cambridge that's been sort of eye-opening, revealing for you? And anything else you want to share? Because you've been around, you've seen a lot, I guess. Oh, there we go. And then Peter wants to go ahead. Sorry, Dylan, open question. Anything else you want to share from your Cambridge perspective? So,
yeah. So I've really enjoyed working with people that are working in decentralization and agentic workflows at the minute, which I know we talked about earlier being a bit of a buzzword, but the way that AI is now and what we're calling agents now is like very developing, and there's a lot of young and hungry Cambridge entrepreneurs that are wanting to build on these things, and that's something that I've really enjoyed looking at over the past sort of few months. I had a meeting with Taurus Network the other day, some really smart guys doing sentiment analysis on the markets, scraping the internet for people that are making predictions and then ranking if their predictions are working or not. So I'm also potentially going to help them by implementing them into my backtesting engine so I can verify whether their predictions have made money or not. So yeah, that's
definitely on the agent side, I guess, isn't it, Dylan? I think that's what you're saying in terms of getting their help from their end.
That will be all decentralized blockchain agents, this kind of stuff.
Wow. Okay, that might feature in one of your next research notes. Is that correct, Dylan? So I'm sort of priming you there for more content. Okay, amazing, good. Thank you, Dylan. Let's see how it goes. Actually, good. And now somebody's reached out there on stage. So thank you, right. So, Peter, is this working? Can you hear us? Is that working?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Wow, this is amazing technology. So another one from our Cambridge Mafia here. So Peter, welcome. Peter, you're working. I mean, introduce yourself, please, actually, because you're working on sentiment stuff, which is equally interesting, Peter. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you for the impromptu invite, and Dylan, very very cool stuff you're working on. Your hundreds of thousands of strategies is shocking. I'm reeling from that still. So I'm not sure how to take that.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it too.
That's a difficult one to wrap around. But I appreciate you asking me. I wear two hats. I'm a professor of communication and computing science. I'm visiting here at Jesus College in Cambridge, and but my home institution is Simon Fraser University in Vancouver, Canada. I also am co-founder of a startup company that does computational analytics for similar to what AlgoDynamix does, but and we have our own different ways of doing things. So not trying to compete with the great minds here, but one of the things that we do that's different is that we mine different types of communication data in order to build trading strategies as well. And so we do similar things to everybody else, but that's the one thing, because of my background in communication, we've been mining media for 100 years. So but how to make that work in the financial space and the crypto space is the scientific nut that we're trying to crack. But Dylan, one thing I wanted to ask you, which I think is really interesting about this, is you talked about generational differences and in approaching on when you talk to your friends and about what they would rather invest in as those trillions of dollars start to come their way. I thought that was a really interesting comment. So, what sorts of things do you think they're interested in, and what are your favorite sectors in the crypto space outside of the top 10 type stuff? Anyways, thank you.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. That's a really good question. The obviously top 10, we have what people would call the like silvers and golds, the blue chip tokens of crypto. But personally, for me, I'm more interested in like true utility. I don't really want to mention the exact tokens, so I don't want to be liable for anyone's investment strategies, but things to do with energy and like true decentralization. So let's say phones, SIM cards, Wi-Fi, internet, just decentralized organizations as well. So a lot of DAO stuff. I'm not too much into DeFi, which is quite surprising, but yeah, just true decentralization of the structures that we already have, so that there can be a power change in some ways.
It's a nice one. Let me just dig a bit. Really good question from Peter, by the way. Thank you for joining. Thank you for asking, Peter. Can I probe a bit on that one? Because listen, Dylan, I hear you. Hopefully, I can see where you're going with this. And controversial statement. Agree or disagree. That's why we're here. The best decentralized use case we have now is crypto in terms of volume, adoption, usage, or stable coins. That's by far. I would argue to date, it's the only nice, proper use case for decentralization, and people have been trying. They've been trying real-world assets. They've been trying to, there've been lots of other, let's call them Web3 projects, with not much adoption. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I totally agree, but I think that's mainly because of it's a bit of a naive comment, but I think maybe it's because of like the shadows of capitalism, right? Imagine if Starlink was a decentralized effort, but it could never have been because of the big institutions. But like maybe finance is the first part of it. Like we're looking at the potentiality of real world assets being tokenized. So who knows if in 50 years time, our local grain mill won't be owned by 2,000 different people and it's governed by a decentralized organization. Because, people will see, hey, this guy set up a DAO gold mine and all of these people invested £1,000 into it, and now that gold mine's pulling out billions of pounds worth of gold a year, and their £1,000 is now worth this or whatever, and they all have fractionalized shares of these decentralized autonomous organizations. Like maybe that will happen at some point, but if we're looking at shares and stocks, like in a way that already has happened, like Nvidia is owned by its shareholders. It's but putting that all in a manner where people are able to access it from the ground up, I think I believe it will happen, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Interesting. Maybe there's that generational play too, which is good to hear. I think something that is happening now, I think it's Robinhood, but please fact check this. They're taking traditional shares, so your Nvidia and Coinbase, your equity shares, and that's being traded on blockchains actually. So it's a sort of hybrid use case. It's not the best one, but it's already happening. And at least my views are, if you make it backwards compatible with the old world, it's probably easier to sell. But I think I agree, Dylan. I think we are getting there. I'm hoping there'll be another burning use case soon, other than crypto actually, or stable coins. But okay, very good points on that one. So
I think going back to it just for a second, I do know that it's actually been found that it's quite cumbersome to run things on the blockchain. Like it's a lot easier to run things in the old school way. So I guess that's something that we'd have to figure out as well.
It's okay, that's probably a longer technical discussion, because it's the most inefficient, cumbersome, dreadful database out there, isn't it, the blockchain? But it is decentralized, isn't it? I guess it's permissionless, so that's what you're buying. But it's not the best storage thing out there, is it? I think some numbers. I think BTC now, so the entire that blockchain, I think it's about 180 terabyte. I think, Dylan, I don't know what the numbers are actually, but it's massive distributed, isn't it? Yeah, but,
I'm not sure of the exact specifics, but they are getting bigger.
They are getting bigger, and from a purely database point of view, very inefficient. But it's not. I shouldn't call it a database. It's not. It's a permissionless sort of mechanism there. So thank you for that. So good. Linda, always a pleasure. Okay, Linda's typing question here. Going back to the magical earlier part of this conversation. Oh, I love this, Linda. Should we as humans prepare to be knocked down a step or two in the future? Lovely question. So Dylan, did you get that? So, should we be prepared to be humbled? What are your views on that one? Great question, Linda.
I'd like to hear your views on it first, actually, Jeremy, if that's all right.
Wow. Good. Well done, Dylan. Well done. Yes. I think what it's doing now, actually, I mean, knowledge is sort of spreading all over the place. I don't think I don't think I will be. Well, at least in my case, maybe I've spent too much time in academia, but I like to believe I'm moderately aware of how little I know. Doing back in the days, doing whatever physics, quantum mechanics research, you end up knowing absolutely nothing, and your dissertation, your research papers are so narrow. So maybe I'm being a bit pretentious here and thinking it maybe applies less to me because I realize how little I know. That may not apply to other people. But if AI, if language models can sort of, dare I say, highlight, educate of how much knowledge is out there and how little we know, I think that is a plus point. So yes, partially answering your question, Linda, I think it would help. Hopefully, I'm optimistic. It will help humanity understand of how little we know. So yes, if that's a humbling experience, I'll take it. So that's my sort of convoluted answer. So as always, Dylan, please disagree. Please interject here. I don't want just people agreeing.
Actually, I quite agree.
Oh, come on, Dylan.
I'll give something else. I'll give another token of insight.
Please,
I agree, and I love the statement, the Einstein sort of statement, where it's like the more I know, the more I do not know.
Yes, absolutely.
And I do believe that it's going to help us see things that we haven't seen before. Like it helped us solve the matrices problem that hasn't been able to be so upgraded since like the 1960s. I think, it might actually make us busier because we have so many more physical things to do now. Like when it solved the matrices problem, a human probably had to go and prove that. Really had to go and figure that out and make sure that it works. So there was a job created right there. But also on the other side of stuff, like us humans, we are highly adaptable, and I think we just chase to kind of be unsettled, right? Like we've basically colonized the entire planet, but we still find things to do. If everything else got automated by AI and all of the big problems kind of got solved by AI, I definitely think we would still find something to do. So I wouldn't necessarily say we'd be getting knocked down or humbled. We would just have a change of focus. And some people like to say, oh, maybe we'll spend more time doing art and creating communities. And I can somewhat believe that. There's a higher increase in people partaking in community activities now. And that wouldn't be a bad world. And I think we'd stay very busy. And, loneliness epidemic right now, it might be a good thing to get us, outside the house and off of our computers and phones, because everything's already been done. But I don't think we'll run out of things to do.
I agree. Once again, it's annoying, Dylan. I'm agreeing. Was it a century ago about, some commenting at the US Patent Office that, you know, after a few patents, you know, everything's been done, everything's been invented, which was obviously complete nonsense. And I think again with AI, actually, I think the more we do, the more we know, the more depth and the more possibilities we'll see. Actually, I'm hoping you're right, Dylan. Actually, we'll have more time for ourselves, so to speak. At least in my world, I'm seeing the opposite. Actually, it's making us increase. It's making us more busy. It's making us more productive. It's opening up new opportunities. And, you know, here we are across 3 different continents, you know, running a podcast basically. So I hope, Dylan, I hope you're right. I think there'll be hopefully more time for humanity. I don't think so. I think we'll get busier, because as humans, I guess that's evolution, isn't it? We need to push the boundaries. We need to sort of always do the next thing, and that's why we're still around, aren't we? As opposed to sort of other thing, actually. So, wow, God, this is powerful. This is probably extremely heavy, so I think I might. So there's no more questions. I think I might get to slightly draw it to a close. But Dylan, this has been absolutely mind-boggling. I'm so glad this is recorded. So for human prosperity and everything else, actually, you'll be able to listen to it again and sort of dissect things. And I feel there's some quotes, Dylan, you should put in your next research notes, actually, based on what you've said today. So just headline some of your thoughts, actually, but on that one. So, Dylan, I think last takeaway message is, you know, go to QStrat, sign up, make sure you get the research notes. They're definitely going to be very interesting. And yes, thank you for attending. This will be available on YouTube. Next podcast will be on August 18th with our friends, with our customers in Hong Kong. So, Dylan, it's your show. Any last words you want to leave us with, or just say thank you, good night?
No, I think I've got a lot of thinking to do about sentience now, since you asked me that question. That's what's on my mind primarily, but there will be future research notes as well. There's a lot of different alleyways of data to go down, so this won't be the only one. If you sign up, you'll get some insights across. Yeah,
it sounds like you've got a whole thing here. And dare I suggest, Dylan, you know, the next obvious step is a nice book. You can start getting some more output there. There we go. So yes, good. Dylan, thank you. Tarun, thank you. Linda, Peter, everybody else, Frank, thank you all very much for attending. I'm going to disconnect now, and we'll see you at the next podcast soon. Thank you. Bye.
See you then. Bye.